Are you an atheist yourself?
I'm a universalist.
Universalist. So you also approve of Islam?
I think it's got some wisdom in it. It doesn't mean I agree with everything it says.
So give me one wise thing that is there in the Quran.
The 5 pillars and the fitra.
The 5 pillars. Yeah,
The 5 pillars I think is good practice, and I think the fitra is a good psychological conception. It's a good model of human teleology, meaning and ethics.
Sure. Demonstrate right now. Please explain to me, how are the 5 pillars good practice? Take the first pillar for instance. Tell me, why is that a good practice?
Okay. They're good practice for the same reason that they're good practice in Christianity, because the Christians, I believe, also do the 5 pillars. So you've both got it right. I'm a universalist, and I can applaud the Christians and the Muslims for doing the 5 pillars, because the 5 pillars are good practice.
Tony, one of the pillars is to acknowledge the Islamic Allah.
Well, to acknowledge God. You see,
No, the Islamic Allah.
I know, because you will, with respect, and I appreciate the conversation, in my frame of thinking, I don't care that much what name you're giving to God specifically. I care that in your mind you're aiming towards God. What you conceive to be God.
Sure.
Which means that when, for example, you pray, Christians pray, they conceptualize a particular model of God, but it's still a monistic God, yeah? And it's still a God which requires certain conduct from you, to whom you show humility, etc., and so do the Muslims. So in that regard, you're doing the same thing, but you're using different language.
No, that's not true, Tony. So I appreciate our calm conversation, but I'd really like to engage with an important point I'm going to make right now.
Okay.
And to engage with this point, we need to go deeper. I'm not concerned about the names either, as a cosmetic thing. I care about the substance. So as the substance, this is an important point I'm going to bring up right now is this.
Okay.
Jesus does not require Christians to kill non-Christians because they have disagreed with Christianity.
Sure.
The Islamic Allah, on the other hand, as part of his essential religion, wants the Muslims to destroy non-Muslims because they have rejected Islam as a religion. They clearly both are not equivalent morally. Would you like to be killed just because you're not a Muslim?
No. Okay.
And so, I'll just give me one moment. I'm
deliberately not interrupting because we're having so far a good conversation.
And then I'll let you also.
Try and hold back because I have a tendency to jump in.
Sure, no problem. So you won't want to be killed just because you're not a Muslim, but
Agreed.
Islam wants the Islamic Allah wants Muslims to kill you just because you're not a Muslim.
I believe there are a number of denominations of Islam that support that idea. I don't think every denomination of Islam will support that idea, but I oppose that idea.
Sure,
yeah?
But that is Quran. It's not from the denomination.
Which is why I said I see wisdom in there, but it doesn't mean I take it all to be literal or accurate.
No, the wisdom you said, Tony.
I said the 5 pillars and the fitra.
Sure.
I stand by those being good practice. Simultaneously, I don't think punishment of apostasy is good practice.
But bear in mind this: the Islamic Allah, as a fundamental aspect of his mindset, bear in mind it is the Islamic Allah's mindset which shows up through the religion. Yeah, the religion is a revelatory of his mindset, and so I can demonstrate.
I think it's revealing of the culture which has fostered that religion. I think religions are created by men but inspired by God. Whereas I think both you and most of the Muslims think the religion is literally God dictating. I think it's humans being inspired by God and then doing the best they can to rationalize the inspiration. So it's different kind of traffic.
Now here is where let me read this. This is important.
I would ask, did you get what I just said? Because it's a fundamental difference in how we approach these things. You think that both you and the Muslims, I think, believe, conservative Muslims, they think that God is literally like a human being making choices, dictating things in a book which are literally true. Yeah? And I get that. That's the standard model. I think what was really happening, I'm from a more esoteric tradition, which thinks that human beings are instead being inspired by God. Various individuals get particularly inspired then using their own minds, they write down the best approximation they can get to what inspired them. And because they're human and fallible, they don't get 100% right, but they still get it pretty close. It's like
Tony,
if they hear a good piece of music and they sing it back.
Here is the problem, Tony.
Go ahead.
If a jihadist comes here, and he is going to chop my head off,
Well, I'm on your side then.
but here is the problem. If he is going to chop my head off based on his knowledge of the Quran, would your view on how the Quran should be seen help, theologically, help him give up on chopping my head off?
Yes, because he shouldn't take everything in it, every syllable as being literally true.
That's what you would like to comment to him, but would he take it seriously?
I'm not him, I can't, sorry.
And that is exactly my point.
My effort would be in that direction.
Sure, but my point to you...
When I'm trying to communicate to that person that I think the prescription on apostasy is wrong, I'll simultaneously say, I'm not damning the whole religion. I think the core teachings have value and wisdom.
But here's my point.
Yeah.
My point is the fundamental problem. I have 2 points to address. One is your comment on the actual teaching, and the other is your mindset right now.
Okay.
The fundamental problem I have with the mindset right now is your view actually does not effectively influence anyone apart from you. And therefore, you can have your own take on how they should read the Quran, but that is not what Osama bin Laden is going to take. That is not what the Islamic jihadists here at the park are going to take seriously. The Islamic jihadists here are going to take their view of how they see the Quran seriously and do what they have to do. And to you, therefore, the choice must be whether you understand and appreciate Islam in the way they take it. You should see it in that way and then comment on whether you'd like to receive it or reject it. But you haven't got a choice on how they will take Islam. You really haven't got a choice. And that is where you can. But do you see? Please
I think I get your point.
Yeah.
With respect, I never claimed I had that kind of power. All I can do is all anybody I think can do is be responsible for your own choices. Do your best effort in what you think is the honest and best direction. I think the honest best thing to do is express to them, your 5 pillars are good, I think fitra is good, it works, they're common with other religions, so you don't need to be in conflict with other religions at that level, but you have other issues which are highly problematic, such as apostasy, such as in conservative Christianity, there are tracts in the Old Testament that are equally highly problematic, and I take issue with them. But I don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. I think the core teachings of Christianity and Islam and Buddhism and Judaism, etc., if you're looking for the good in there, I think there is divine inspiration in there, but I don't expect it not to be tarnished by human inaccuracies and human fallibility.
Sure, okay. Tony, but here is where I need to comment. So I'd like to wrap up on the first part. On the first part, you made 3 points right now. On the first part, we would need to agree, or at least agree to disagree. Whether in either case, very simply, your take on Islam is really irrelevant. When it is really irrelevant. I'll finish and you'll see what I'm going. Is really irrelevant in relation to how Islam is taken by others. For you, it might be meaningful, but no one else would give a penny for how you would like them to take Islam. Islam is taken in a particular way historically. Your choice is on top of having your own view for yourself. When it comes to commenting on how Islam is taken in a public sphere, your choice is merely on whether you would approve or disapprove of how they take it.
Then I think we'll have to
agree to disagree. No, I completely agree.
I mean, I would point out that the Universalists, I'm not the only Universalist on the planet.
No problem.
Okay?
But
there are strands within Christianity, there are strands within Islam, which are far closer to where I'm at. I'm more at the Sufi end of the spectrum, I'm more at the Kabbalistic end of the spectrum, and the esoteric. There is a significant tradition of those people, and they tend to be more affiliated with philosophical traditions. So I'm not alone. However, more to the point, even if I was alone, that would not change the rightness or wrongness of what you do. Reality is not a popularity contest. If only one person thinks the world is round and everyone else thinks it's flat, You shouldn't argue to them, well, no one's going to believe you. Even if you're right, you should still speak truth as best you can.
Sure. Now, I'm going to agree to disagree on that. So I'm going to take.
You shouldn't try and speak truth as best you can. That's all
You
I'm
haven't spoken truth. You have merely.
I've spoken what I believe.
Exactly,
as
which is
best
very
as I-
different from.
Yeah.
Which is very. So we must distinguish between what you believe and how you would like the others to take versus what the truth is.
You're correct.
In relation to how Islam began and has continued, there is a particular way it has done. I completely agree. There is a narrow spectrum of Muslims who take a very different view. And here is why I want to go back to the other point I was going to make earlier. You said
we need to agree on a foundational statement.
No.
You were correct to correct me, so let me modify what I said.
but no, I want to
think-
move on. I want to move on.
Oh, there's no point unless we agree that truth has value.
Sure. No, I
we
want to
agree
move
truth
on.
has
I
value?
want to go back because I'm going to agree to disagree on that. You've said what you've said. I've said what I've
And
said.
so I need to modify because you were correct.
Sure, you can quickly
were-
modify if you want,
Thank you
and
very much.
I like
I
to.
said you should speak truth as best you can. You pointed out my conception of truth may be wrong, so I need to modify it. I should try and speak the truth as I best understand it as well as I can.
Sure.
I may be right or wrong, so I may not be speaking the truth, but I'm speaking my best conception of truth.
Sure.
We should all try and do that, shouldn't we? Yes? We should all try and
Which is
speak
what
the
I
truth.
try to do.
Good, so we're both
But-
trying to
but-
speak
but-
the truth as best we can.
But whether you know it or not, maybe you don't understand the history of Islam. My dear friend, Islam has a long history, and your ideas of what your perception of truth is completely is off the ballpark, completely when it comes to understanding Islam. And I'll demonstrate that by going to this very important point. You said you're happy with the 5 pillars.
Yeah.
I'll read
Practice.
as practice. So I'm going to read this, and I'm going to ask if
In
you're.
spirit.
I'm going to ask if you're happy with this Islamic Allah. Because the Islamic Allah, you are assuming you want to pursue the truth. The Islamic Allah is recorded here. And so I'd like for you to focus on this and see if you agree with the belief in this particular
There'll be
Islam.
loads of stuff I don't agree with.
But please, Tony, please listen.
Okay. Well,
The
you're going to
Quran-
demonstrate. I'm sure you're going to
Sure.
demonstrate the stuff I don't agree with.
In which case,
But I said the 5 pillars. Are you going to show me one of the 5 pillars, or are you going to show me something?
my dear
different?
friend, there is no Islam without the Quran. Whether you
They
are a
claim
Sufi,
that I'm a universalist. I don't take it literally the way you
no,
guys.
universalists don't get to dictate what
We
Islam
do.
is.
We are a tradition of thought, and we're
But
very
please listen.
coherent.
But please listen. Universalists don't get to dictate what the Quran is. The Quran is a historical document. Completely agreed, put together in a very complex, no one has a clue as to how it was put together, and there is plenty of research that is happening. But at the least I can say that the Quran was put together perhaps before you and I were born.
Definitely. Before
And that
you
is
and I were born.
and that is where
Well,
and that is
very,
where
very old.
unless we are very well, and we are not, and therefore it is clearly put together before you and I were born, and therefore
It
and
says
therefore
certain things as a point of
and
fact.
therefore when it represents the Islamic Allah in a particular way, your choice is not to deny the fact that it is represented in a particular way.
I'm not denying it. It's
Sure.
in
In
the
which
book.
case, let's read
I'm
carefully.
not saying these are not facts that
Sure.
are in the book.
Can I please read now?
Right, okay.
Let's read if you agree with this particular Islamic Allah. I'm going to read a couple of ayats, Surah 9, At-Tawbah, ayat 111 to 114. I'm going to read a couple of details from here. I'm skipping a few statements, but ultimately, indeed, Allah, which is of course the Islamic Allah, Allah has purchased for the believers their lives
Yeah.
and their properties. I'm sorry, I'm turning this way because I'm trying to get the
Fine,
light.
you need the light.
Yeah, properties. For that they will have paradise. They fight in the cause of Allah. So they kill and are killed. It is a true promise upon him in the Torah, the Islamic Torah, and the Gospel. Thank you very much. Thank you. In the Torah and the Gospel, the Islamic Torah, the Islamic Injil, and the Quran. And who is truer to his covenant than Allah? So it says the Islamic Allah wants them to fight and to kill and to be killed. That's a fundamental requirement which the Islamic Allah,
Fight and kill and be killed by who?
by the Muslims. It requires the Muslims to fight and kill and be killed.
Excuse me. I'll be 5 minutes.
Oh, no
5
problem.
seconds,
Yeah,
just
sorry,
1
sorry,
second.
I didn't really
You just
listen.
tell them
No problem.
Hi, Liz, sorry,
Yeah.
I'm on camera now. Do you mind if I call you back? It's really urgent. Okay, we'll do. Cheers. Okay, bye-bye. Sorry about that.
No problem, Tony. So your choice is this, Tony.
Yeah,
This came before you were born, before I was born.
yeah.
And so we can't deny this. It already existed. We can either say, look, I like this, I agree with this, or I disagree with this. That's your choice.
Okay.
So,
Am I allowed to respond now?
but let me clarify. So this Islamic Allah wants the Muslims to kill and be killed.
Wants the Muslims to
Who-
kill and be killed.
Yeah,
Killing who?
non-Muslims.
Killing non-Muslims.
And it even defines a perimeter
Yeah.
or a parameter for who you would kill.
Yeah.
Essentially, these are non-Muslims,
Uh-huh.
and you are supposed to kill them. If I go to ayat 114, and the request of forgiveness for Abraham for his father. So even if they are your father, and ayat 113 says, relatives, it is not for the prophet and those who believe to ask forgiveness for the polytheists, even if they were relatives. So the choice for you is simply this, and I'll let you respond to that.
I did understand it the
Yeah.
first 2 times you said.
Killing and being killed, even if your relatives, is the commandment from the Islamic Allah. Are you saying, you said earlier you are happy with the 5 pillars. Are you suggesting that you are happy with the pillar that the Muslims are supposed to take this particular nasty Islamic Allah seriously?
Can I answer?
Sure.
I could be wrong. That's not one of the 5 pillars, and that does not pertain to the fitra, which are the things I said I liked. You've read a particular passage. I didn't totally get what you read, but I don't dispute it's written there as a point of fact. Yeah?
Yeah.
Those words are definitely written in that physical book as a fact. Yeah?
Yeah.
I didn't get the full context, and I'd like to look at the context, but either way, if when I looked at the context it turned out effectively to be saying you should kill people who are non-Muslim,
Yep.
then yeah, I have an issue with that, and I don't think that's God speaking.
Yep.
Okay?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the choice I've made.
Sure.
On that particular point, which is not one of the 5 pillars, nor does it pertain to the fitra,
Yeah.
on that particular point, I think they have misinterpreted the inspiration of God.
Sure. So let's look at the 5 pillars. The 5 pillars of the Islamic faith: Shahada, profession of faith.
Yeah.
So what do they have faith in?
A monistic God.
No, in this particular one, who commands that they Muslims have to kill and be killed, kill the non-Muslims, and while attempting to kill the non-Muslims, even be allowed to be killed, i.e., be willing to be suicide bombers.
So,
But let me finish, please. Let me finish.
I don't-
So let me finish, Tony. The 5 pillars is profession of faith in that evil, monstrous Islamic Allah. Another pillar of the 5 pillars is Salah, which is praying. Praying to who? Not praying to your conception of God, but praying to this Islamic Allah who has asked them to kill. Zakat. Zakat is alms giving, which is charity. Charity to who? Charity that you give out of what you have gathered after destroying the non-Muslims, collected things from them, and distributing that amongst.
Excuse me. Wait. Excuse me. I think it would be fair if you're going to do the 5 pillars to go through them one by one.
Sure.
Rather than giving all 5.
No problem. Yeah, let's begin with
Pick
Shahada.
whichever one you want to start.
Yeah, so you tell me, are you happy with someone saying, look, I profess faith on a monstrous, murderous, evil person called the Islamic Allah? Are you happy with that profession of faith?
At this point, I'd have to say to anyone watching this, you will notice that's a slightly loaded question, yeah?
But this is the only Islamic
I
Allah.
don't- well, what you're saying is, if I accept your interpretation, am I happy? No, of course I'm not happy with anybody embracing a horrible, evil God.
Yes.
No, I'm not. But you know that I don't accept your interpretation that Allah, everything that comes through the Quran is horrible. I think it needs contextualizing, and you've got to realize there's problems in it. Okay? So when I
Tony.
see the first pillar, what they are doing is making a profession of faith and commitment to a monistic deity, yeah, who endows their life with meaning and purpose and ethics, and they will try and adopt good practice to that end. I applaud it to that extent. To the extent that it might lead them to then go off and kill apostates or randomly kill people, I think they're reading it wrong and misconstruing it.
You know, I read from Surah 9
Yeah,
passage ayat 111 to 114.
sure.
Do you know this passage or not?
I'm becoming more familiar with it.
When you say more familiar,
I don't.
I'm asking
I've
you,
read-
do you know this or not?
Okay. I've read the first 100 pages of the Quran, okay, specifically. I've got a terrible memory though, but I simulate the data. I've debated this a lot with other people. Whether or not I've literally memorized it, I'm happy to acknowledge that you're reading it accurately now, I assume. And I'm giving you my interpretation of how I, as a universalist, would interpret that. You're interpreting it as literally as a lot of Muslims would, and then I think it's flawed and problematic.
No, that's the very idea of reading. When you read, unless you read Osama bin Laden saying go kill as go kill, you will be doing a massive disservice. For example, if you find a note here that says, hey look, jihadi A, B, C, D, E, we are going to go there and kill that gentleman today. If you are going to be any meaningful participant in our society, if you take that note, are you going to stand there and say, oh yeah, it says kill, but I'm going, as a universalist, I'm going to say someone is going to get a bunch of flowers and go provide that bunch of flowers to someone else. Is that what you would do? Or would you say, hey look, I
don't know
might
where the
have...
flowers came from. Just carry on.
My point is, Tony, very simply, if you have to help fellow human beings, when there is a material which says go kill, you better read
Then
that.
I oppose that.
Exactly.
But
And so we went through
Wait. It's built into, you seem to be arguing as a
Yeah.
literalist, which is, I've either got to accept everything in this book as being 100% accurate, or I've got to throw it out.
That's-
Now, specifically, I do not believe that. I believe, it's like if I read Principia Mathematica, if I read something by, say, Newtonian physics, yeah? If I read Newton's book on physics, there's a massive amount of profound and insightful stuff there that helped to create the Enlightenment. Nonetheless, it's got some stuff wrong, okay? It's not like I can genuinely cherry pick for the good stuff and understand the core ideas are there which are excellent, but they need further refining, and they were further refined by Einstein, etc.
Tony,
and I
I'll
look
keep
at
this
these
simple.
books, let so your viewers understand where I'm coming from. I see
Where
these
you are
books-
coming from, Tony.
If we're comparing views, I see these books as being like Newton's work on physics, Newtonian physics. They are works in progress, they move you forward, but they're not perfect, and they're there to be further refined through discussions such as this. Whereas your traditional Muslims, your conservative Muslims, conservative Christians, etc., they are more aligned to the idea that this book is sacrosanct, it's not a work in progress, it's finished and it's perfect.
Sure.
This is where we
Can we-
fundamentally disagree.
I think you fundamentally misunderstand the topic at hand. The topic at hand is not whether you are going to invent a new version of Islam.
I'm not, it already exists.
But please, what already exists existed even before you were born, and therefore, however you want to whitewash, the fellows here who are Muslims don't like that white.
I'm not
Tony,
whitewashing.
please listen.
Well,
But please, you need to listen. I heard you. You now need to listen. Please. Can we at least keep it really simple and say, if someone professes faith towards Surah, towards the Islamic Allah recorded in Surah At-Tawbah, which you maybe are not familiar with,
you mean
Surah.
this bit?
Say again.
Do you mean this bit here?
Shahada is profession of faith.
Fine.
When it says Shahada and when it says profession of faith, it's not profession of faith towards some random deity, but it is profession of faith towards the Islamic Allah.
I know you believe that, but I don't.
I'm not asking.
Universalists don't. I'm just saying.
I'm not
you're
asking.
You're now engaged.
Can we?
You're
Can
now
we?
engaged in a discussion with somebody from a different.
I
tradition
understand,
to you.
and that
So
is
now
where the question
job,
to you.
The job is to
The
weigh
question.
the merits of our
Sure.
tradition.
No.
No,
I am
no.
really not discussing universalism right now. And this is why I
Well,
want you to.
Which of the two views ends up?
I
being
want
more
I want you to focus on the particular question I have, and I think if you,
I'm not
sure
ducking it.
you are. I'm not
just-
saying you're deliberately ducking. I think you're misunderstanding.
I promise
Please
you,
let me
I'm
clarify.
contextualizing your
Sure,
question.
Tony. No,
I'll
please.
get-
I have a particular question.
Go on.
do we agree
Yeah.
that if anyone confesses, if anyone, I'm not talking about you,
Yeah.
I'm not talking about people of your mindset, do we agree that if anyone confesses, i.e. shahada, does a shahada, pledging allegiance to the Islamic Allah revealed in Surah At-Tawbah, Ayah 111 to 114, which has asked the Muslims to kill non-Muslims, do we at least agree
Yeah.
that shahada we don't approve of, we don't
Yeah, I
entertain?
already said I don't.
Good. And therefore
Was that
you
not clear? No, seriously.
and therefore can we now
Wait. It's on camera,
yeah,
so check it back.
sure.
I already thought I made it very clear that I disapprove of punishment of apostate.
No, shahada.
Let me finish. Two things I said I clearly disapproved of: punishment of apostates and this prescription to violence.
Sure, but
I
I've moved
disapprove of
on.
both. Was that clear?
That was clear.
Good.
But now I made a point which I think you have not understood because you're not focusing on what I'm saying.
Okay.
I completely understand that you disapprove of Surah Tawbah, Ayah 111.
If that's what they say, then yes, I do.
Yes, you disapprove of this.
If that's an
And
accurate
now-
representation of what they
Sure.
say. Fine.
Now I want us both to take the next step, and that is where I'd like you to focus.
ahead.
So you and I disapprove of that particular Islamic Allah. We disapprove of that.
Yeah.
And so now can we agree anyone who pledges allegiance to that Islamic Allah, which is what Muslims do, we disapprove of? In other words, the first of the 5 pillars that we have discussed so far is pledging allegiance, having faith in this Islamic Allah, and that we don't like. Can we agree?
Yeah, kind of. Let me reframe it so that I like it when people give clear answers. So I'll give you a yes, but now let me explain the yes because it's a slightly different context. My answer is yes. What you are saying is, do we disagree with people who take every syllable in the command to be literally true? That effectively is what you're asking me. And yeah, I think they're making a mistake.
Yes.
If you are taking, I totally think that. And I made that clear.
Yeah, so
if
Shahada-
you take every syllable in the Quran to be literal, I think you are failing to understand the wealth of wisdom that's in there because there are also problematic elements. The same as if I think you take the whole of the Old Testament totally literally.
I'll come to
you
the
will have
Bible
the
later.
same
No,
problem.
I'd like, and here is where.
You may. That's my position.
Sure,
is that
but-
in
but-
both
but-
of these traditions.
No, don't.
If you take it, I'm allowed to qualify my position. In both of these traditions, if you sift through the books and you take every prescription literally, you will find problematic things. When you do that, you can either pretend they're not there, or you can decide the book is rubbish and get rid of it, or you can decide that you're going to have to contextualize it a bit more and separate the wheat from the chaff. I'm doing number 3.
I have a suspicion. I hear what you're
Is that
saying.
coherent? I may be wrong, but it's not.
You are.
stupid. Okay, I may be wrong, but it's not an incoherent or dishonest position, yeah?
You would be dishonest when you're.
If you think I'm being dishonest, we can't talk. I'm trying
No,
to
I'll
be
clarify.
Okay, fine.
I know you're trying, and you may not even know that you're dishonest, and that's why I want to clarify. What I'd like to comment to you, Tony,
Yeah.
I respect you.
Okay,
I've
thank
heard you.
Thank you.
I think you're trying to be sincere.
Thank you.
That I really appreciate. But the main problem that I find with you
Yeah.
is
Don't worry about it. He's leaving. It's just a random, whatever.
don't
Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Carry
Tony.
on.
So my problem, Tony, with you, we had a little bit of confusion as to whether we were discussing your viewpoint or the Quranic viewpoint. I was discussing on the Quran. Now the main problem I have with you is that you don't know At-Tawbah.
I don't know what?
You don't know Surah At-Tawbah. In other words, if I can summarize, the main problem is that you are taking positions without knowledge. That's not a good thing to do. If I could ask you, if you have read Surah al-Baqarah, Surah 2, you said you've read the first 100
I read the
pages.
first 100 pages.
Yeah, which I should include Surah al-Baqarah,
Okay.
Surah 2, Surah al-Baqarah.
Yeah.
If I give you some details from Surah al-Baqarah,
Yeah.
did you learn anything good from Surah al-Baqarah?
I don't know the specific one you're talking about.
Anything? Did you learn anything good in
In
Surah
the first
al-Baqarah?
100 pages,
Yeah, in Surah
I found
al-Baqarah.
there was some really positive prescriptions in there.
Like what?
There were appeals to charity, there were appeals to good conduct, there were appeals to humility, there were appeals to not, for example, praying in public to be seen to be praying, to not be overt about your religion, but to do it with humility, to do it as an end in itself, to love God as an end in himself, not for what you're going to get out of it. These are similar prescriptions I would notice in other traditions, and I approve of those insights, and they are in there, I believe. That's my memory.
Tony, I hear. Okay.
It's my oldest memory.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Let me ask you this, Surah, Tony. Sorry, and you need to be honest. This is where this is where I said you are dishonest. I know you're trying to, but now you really need to.
We need to be clear on one thing. I am not consciously lying.
I completely understand.
Okay, that's my definition of honesty. Is if I might people be unconsciously mistaken, but I'm not consciously lying.
Can I please comment to you? My definition is slightly different, and my definition is something like this. If you ask me something about something which I know I don't know much, I would first of all qualify and say, look, I don't know much. I really shouldn't be commenting. That's where I'll begin. But that I'm not seeing in you. And that's my main problem, and that's why I said you're dishonest. I'm not saying. Surah al-Baqarah, if I could ask you this one little thing. Surah al-Baqarah is one of the biggest chapters in the Quran. Do you know the rough summary, the essential points of Surah al-Baqarah? If I were to tell you, please summarize Surah al-Baqarah in a couple of statements, would you know what points you need to cover?
Go ahead and tell me what your summary would be.
Ultimately, Surah al-Baqarah is about defining who an unbeliever is, i.e. who a non-Muslim is, and when you would attack the non-believer, and how you would do that. While doing that, it also recommends, by the way, that you can do this, do that in the process. But the crux of Surah al-Baqarah is about defining who the idolaters, the unbelievers, the non-Muslims are. For instance, Surah al-Baqarah speaks about, if you know Surah al-Baqarah, ayat 216 to 217.
To be honest, I've already got your point.
Sure. But do you know these things?
There is a part of the Quran which identifies who are non-Muslims. That's synopsis of what you're saying,
No, but Surah al-Baqarah is about how to destroy them.
It's about both things. It identifies who they are.
And
then it identifies
destroys.
how you should handle them.
Which is that you destroy them.
Got it. That's easy.
Sure. So. Is that a good? And then it goes on to give other details of how you would worship that Islamic Allah who wants you to identify and destroy the non-Muslims. That's Surah al-Baqarah. That Islamic Allah, do you respect?
No.
And Shahada to that Islamic Allah.
Hang on. These are if statements. If your representation of that is accurate, do I respect what you do? Do I support what you just said? No.
Sure. My representation...
That predicates on you giving an accurate contextualization of it.
But do you have any contrary view? If I read, I can read for you.
I'd have to sit down, go through the context of the particular thing. Now I want to take your point.
But here is the point.
Let me concede something in your favor. You are probably going to argue that I'm not nearly as factually aware of the context.
Exactly, that is my point.
Right. This is true.
Yep, that's exactly my point.
Okay? I'm very well aware of the difference between facts and values, okay? This is Hume, he's a philosopher, a way of looking at things. Just because somebody has got loads of facts at their disposal does not mean they're evaluating the facts very well, okay? The primary skill, I think, is in evaluation, So it helps to have a wealth of facts, but it's not primarily essential. A practical example of this is if you debate a flat earther. If you go and try and debate a flat earther, and I've done it here, you will find endless smoke screens where they will go, oh, you haven't read this book, you haven't read that book, you're not aware of that scholar, And they will correctly show you have virtually no facts at your fingertips when you're having the discussion relative to them. Nonetheless, if you're good at analytical thinking and using inference and these tools, you can cut that Gordian knot without needing too many facts. You can just use Occam's razor logic. Now, I'm applying that same kind of principle here. So although I concede I haven't memorized all the facts or anything like that, I believe logically I've looked through where there are obvious contradictions and I'm trying to square those contradictions.
Tony, now you're being either dishonest. I don't know what you're doing right now. Please hear me out.
Okay.
You can't apply reason when you don't have facts. Reason is applied on top of.
Then we disagree. Sorry, this
Please,
is philosophy.
let me-
Reason is a tool.
Please listen to me. Reason is a tool applied on facts. On facts to arrive at further inferences.
Correct.
But facts are what you fundamentally begin your process of evaluation with.
Agreed.
If you don't even have facts, you are as useless as anyone else.
So, I didn't
Even
say,
with-
I didn't say I have no facts. I said I don't need an infinite plethora of facts when I
Sure.
debate someone like a
Surah-
flat earther.
Surah-
Once I've got the rudimentary facts that they get, there are certain rudimentary facts you get from them where you can instantly use inference to destroy their position. I don't need too many facts. All I need to know from them are about 3 statements which are contradictory and you can kick through. So in Occam's razor,
Tony.
in terms of efficiency, I don't want to spend hours and hours reading every syllable of everything a flat earther can throw me. It's a waste of time.
You have really now. You're doing massive injustice. No one said that you need to know everything.
So I don't need to read the whole
Tony,
of the
please
Quran
listen.
and memorize it, or the whole of the Bible, to notice if 2 things which are said are contradictory.
Tony, you might please, if you give a hearing, you might understand what I'm saying.
What?
If you remember carefully our discussion,
Yeah.
when I began with the Surah al-Baqarah, maybe 5 minutes ago, the question wasn't that whether you remember all of it. That's not what I asked. I asked you if you know a summary of it. Do you know the salient points, the crux of it? That's what I care about. When you don't know the crux, you can't argue.
But you see
based-
how easy it was for us to get to the crux. You gave me the crux. That's how I get facts.
So-
You've told me what
so-
it said.
yes,
I've said,
so you tell-
this was really quick.
Sure.
You see?
And-
You go, here are some facts.
and therefore-
I go, let's
Sure.
accept that those may
No
be
problem.
facts. Now let's rationally run
Sure.
them through the mill.
Now-
and my conclusion is, no, I don't approve of that.
Good.
See how quick it
So
was?
no, it
was
wasn't
really
you.
quick.
You went on a detour after that, but that's fine.
I just
Not a
used
problem.
that technique. You
Not
gave
a
me
problem.
something, I said, if
Sure.
this is a fact, my evaluation is X.
No problem.
And we're done.
So we both agree, Shahada towards the Islamic Allah of Surah At-Tawbah is evil.
No. I don't
Shahada,
know.
Shahada towards. Please let me. If
No,
you
I don't.
please let me finish. Shahada towards the Islamic Allah of Surah Al-Baqarah is evil. We both agree. I'm
By
assuming.
Surah Al-Baqarah, you mean if they are asserting faith in a God who prescribes that kind of behavior, then
Which
that
they
would
are.
be wrong.
Which they are.
They're not all doing that.
Okay. Let's read.
Okay. You're insisting that all of them have to. I've
Yes.
already said I don't think this stuff should be taken as literally as you're taking it, or they're taking it.
I'm not asking you how you take, and this is where you're misunderstanding. I am going to read this, and I want you to see if you agree with this, not how you would like to take this.
It's not how
So-
I like to take it. I understand what it says as a point of fact.
But you
I've
didn't
already
understand.
I've already said
You
to
didn't understand. Let's
I
read.
don't think it is all sacrosanct. So that's not my claim. You're correct. There are things wrong in the book. You're correct. Well done. We can just cut short. You are absolutely correct that there is a lot of problematic stuff in the Quran.
So Surah Al-Baqarah.
I just think simultaneously there is a whole chunk of stuff in the Quran which is even more core to the Quran, which is positive.
Do you
Those
know
are not
about
contradictory statements?
Tony? Here is a problem. Do you know how the Islamic history began according to the Quran?
Do we have to do the whole history of the Quran?
No, yeah, not the whole. Just give me a rough, 1 minute. Do you know or not?
About 1,500 years ago, and it's Muhammad, and he gathers together tribes, and he ends up becoming a very, very powerful political influence, and he ends up instigating Islam. And
Do you know this thing called?
of the time, he was probably an improvement for what was going before, for the
Do you-
culture and for the time. I believe.
Do you
he
know?
was
Do you
a
know this?
positive of the
Do you
time.
know this thing called Masjid al-Haram?
Carry on.
Do you know or not?
I don't know. Carry on. Not by that name, but I may know it. Just not by that name.
Masjid al-Haram.
What's the principle? What's the point?
Well, this is a fundamental fact.
Well, that's a word. So what's the fact? What is that word expressing?
The fact right now is that you don't know one of the building blocks of Islam. That's
I
the
may
fact.
know it, but not by that name. So what's the fact? What does it mean?
Do you know of any historical place in which, around which, Islam's conflicts began?
Mecca, but it wasn't originally Mecca. Where was it? I know where you mean. My memory's not good, but I know where you mean.
about let's say in Mecca, whatever was called Mecca.
It actually wasn't Mecca.
Whatever was called Mecca. It's called Mecca, but
Yeah,
what does that refer to is a huge question. But in Mecca, there is a religious structure called Masjid al-Haram.
Okay.
That is the sort of the center of the dynamic. Do you know about this or not?
Not a huge amount, because I don't consider it that important.
Do you
to
know
me.
anything about this or not?
Some.
Like what? What do you know?
I just told you 1,500 years ago, Muhammad becomes a rising political force, and he introduces Islam as a creed, and it is followed, and it seems, I think, to improve
I'm
the
talking
quality
about
of
the
life.
conflict. Do you know about the conflict with the only religious structure that is recorded by name in the Quran, which is a primary thing that you need to understand for you to evaluate Islam properly? Do you know this or not?
If you mean there were wars, then I believe there were wars.
Do you know about this or not, Tony? Be on. This is why I'd like you to be honest.
I simply have a synopsis. My synopsis of it is, yes, there were conflict and wars, but my area of interest is in the quality of the ethical and teleological prescription and the metaphysical validity of the creed. The historical background that came to that conclusion is utterly secondary to me evaluating the rational and the inferential logic of the thing.
So if you see someone here killing someone else, without having any clue as to who was who, what the motivations were.
I'd obviously need to know those things, but I don't.
Yeah,
need
so you
to
need to know.
But I don't need to know their NHS number, the name of their parents, what country they had previous. I could know there are a huge number of facts about that person's backstory that are fairly irrelevant to me adjudicating that specific interaction.
Tony.
I do need to know their motive and the context of the attack.
Tony.
I don't need to know their life story.
Sure.
Do
Completely.
I? Do I?
You don't have to.
Good. Well,
And-
this is a similar situation.
No, it isn't.
I don't know. To me, it is.
Please listen.
No, to me, it is.
I'm starting to respond. To understand the motivation of how Islam began, you need to know what Masjid al-Haram is. If you don't know the context around it, who owned it, who took over it,
Yeah.
why did they take over it, on what basis did they mobilize people to take
Right.
If you did not know this, you
Very
would not.
strange that you believe this.
It's very strange that I believe that you need to know the fundamentals
I think it's very strange that you might believe that if the concept of the fitra, that in order for me to draw some kind of evaluation of the veracity of the fitra, I need
motivation.
to know. I need to know. Forget the motivation.
mo-
As an idea in and of itself, I'm evaluating the idea. Like if I want to evaluate does 2 + 2 = 4, I don't need to know the backstory of the mathematicians who got there.
Are you kidding me right now?
I'm totally serious. Okay.
Muhammad killed a number of people. To
Okay,
know
fine.
if it was good or bad, do you not need to know why he thought he killed? What is
I'm
motivation?
evaluating the fitra.
Sure. In terms of the Quran at the origin, I'd like to comment to you, Tony. So far I am happy. I was happy. In the last 5 minutes, I'm not happy. And I'm going to comment to you.
Because you want to draw me into a history lesson when I'm evaluating principles, and the principles will be the same no matter what the history was. At the end of the day, whatever that history was, which we could spend an infinite amount of time discussing, they came up with the idea, we think you have an inbuilt spiritual compass. That's the idea I'm interested in evaluating. You guys will spend,
Are you happy with the inbuilt spiritual compass of Osama bin Laden?
I am happy with the notion that human
He had an
beings-
inbuilt spiritual compass. Are you happy with that?
I think
Osama bin
I'm
Laden.
happy with the idea that all human beings have an inbuilt spiritual compass.
Listen to my question,
Can I
please.
finish? I heard
Are you
your
happy?
question.
No, I want you to answer the
Your
one question
was,
I'm asking.
Am I happy with the idea that Osama bin Laden had an inbuilt spiritual
No,
compass?
no.
That was your question?
No.
Play it back. That was his question?
No.
Play it back. That
No.
was his question.
Okay. If you play it back, you would find something else, and therefore,
What was
please
your
listen.
Okay, ask again.
Are you happy with the compass of Osama bin
Oh,
Laden?
that's a different question.
Yeah, that's exactly what I asked,
No,
which you
okay.
didn't hear.
When you play the tape back, you will see what he asked.
Don't
okay?
worry, it's on tape, so
Either
we can
way,
check it out.
Good. So you,
Tell me, are you happy?
No.
He had a spiritual
he
compass.
had
Are
a
you happy with
spiritual
it?
compass. Yeah, I'm totally happy with Osama bin Laden's spiritual compass.
Okay, so in that case,
Can I
we'll.
finish? Can I finish?
You have finished. What
No, I
else is
haven't
there?
finished. I'll tell you when I
You're
finish.
happy with
I
Osama
haven't-
bin Laden's spiritual
No,
compass?
that was the beginning of a sentence. That wasn't the ending.
Okay.
I am happy
Yeah.
with my understanding of the fitra I am happy that everybody has a spiritual
What's the
compass.
talk about Osama bin Laden, please?
So
Are
I'm
you
going
happy?
I'm going to, if you let someone finish a sentence, we will get there. Okay? I am happy that everybody, including Osama bin Laden, has a spiritual compass. And that compass innately heads towards true north, true spiritual north. But Osama bin Laden made some very bad decisions as to how to align with it, and he failed to align with it. So yes, he had a compass. Like any compass anybody carries will point north, always. However, some people will read the compass well and travel a good journey, and some people will read it badly and not. He read his compass badly, but he had a compass, because we all do. Because in Islam and in other religions there is implicit belief that we are born not as blank slates, but with a hardwired
Tony, please
nature
don't go on.
for God.
I asked.
I'm being
You're
very
really.
clear.
You're
I'm
no.
being very
Look,
clear.
can I please comment to you very simply the difference between where you are heading and where bin Laden headed?
Do you think I just approved of his behaviour? Because I didn't. I condemned his behaviour.
Do you think I finished my point?
Fine, but you do understand I condemned his behaviour?
I heard.
Yes? Good.
I heard.
So we agree I condemned him, yes?
But I need to speak right now to make my point.
Okay, but I need to know that I communicated that I condemn Osama bin Laden, yes?
So you have said that he has done terrible things.
Thank you.
And that is where I'd like to now summarize in a quick manner. You don't know the Quran, he knew the Quran. And therefore you approve of the Quran when you don't know. He followed the Quran when he knew the Quran. And so we can both agree Osama bin Laden's understanding is evil, and we both
No,
agree.
his choices were evil. That's not the same as your understanding.
Tony, you don't know the Quran, that's a simple truth. For those who watch, it'll be clear so far. You do not know the Quran.
I have supported
Sure.
the 5 pillars and the fitra.
Now you're going
and
much.
I have put it that they are okay in the same way that I think in say in Judaism, the core teaching is the 10 Commandments. Yeah, you could take the whole book, but if you're going to triage what's really important in the Old Testament, probably the single most important event is the prescription handed down by God of the law in the 10 Commandments.
And
yeah?
what is the crux
Okay.
of the crux of the 10 Commandments?
We can come back to that in a second.
No, this is important.
Why do we have to go wait? Now, if we go to the New Testament,
Tony,
if we go to the New Testament,
Yeah.
the crux of the teaching.
the name of it.
Okay, if we go to the New Testament, the crux of the teaching is in, I think, the Sermon on the Mount. Yeah. This is where everything is distilled down to the essence of the teaching. The Sermon on the Mount in the New Testament, 10 Commandments in the Old Testament. I take it that the essence of the Islamic teaching that has validity distills down to the 5 pillars and the fitra and some other ideas as well, yeah? So the other ideas which you are attacking, I would also attack, but I don't take them to be the core
Tony,
tenets.
we are returning back to the same confusion over and over again because you said you can think.
Hi, how you doing?
Tony,
I think sorry.
you said you are able to think properly, but now I am going to reconsider even that, because you are calling the points that I am bringing up as other ideas when I have clearly demonstrated that what I read is essential characteristic of the Islamic Allah,
If
and
you
therefore
take
I'll
the
finish
Quran literally.
yes, yeah, which
But
is
I
what
don't.
do you take the Quran literally?
Well, some parts are literal, some is metaphorical.
Yeah, but do
A
you
lot of it
take
is
the context?
contextual.
Thank you.
No, just a minute, let me
Yeah.
answer the question.
Yeah,
If you ask me the question, you have to give me the decency to answer it. Parts of most scriptures is contextual, some is literal, some is metaphorical, and some is embedded in the language. So it's not a question of whether it's literal or otherwise. Scriptures, whether it's Quran, Jewish scriptures, or the Bible, there has to be context to it.
Yeah, cool. Let me read this.
Huh?
Pleasure to meet
Yeah, thank you.
Let me
He'll know the Quran much better than I will.
You don't know the Quran, Tony,
I know a bit.
and therefore anyone would know the Quran much better than you.
What is the topic, sorry?
Let's
What is the
read.
topic of the conversation?
No, let's read this.
No, I'm just
Surah
trying to
9.
understand the topic.
Surah 9.
What is the topic?
You contextualize.
Wait. He's asked the
No,
topic.
Tony, one second. No.
I'm asking a question. What is the
Sure,
topic?
The topic is, I am saying that I think I support the Quran insofar as the 5 pillars,
Right.
And the fitra. I think there's
Okay,
wisdom
sure.
in this,
Yeah.
and that there is wisdom within the Quran I, as a universalist, don't think that every aspect of the Quran is accurate. I think it's also contaminated with some bad ideas. So it's a mixture of good core ideas with some bad ideas. And I take
It's a fair comment.
yeah, and I take the Old Testament and other religions to be seen in the same light. They're not all 100% sacrosanct, but they share core common denominators, which are the foundational important tenets.
Sure.
Yeah?
Now
What is your view on that?
No. To you said you can read literally or contextualize it and so on. Please help us understand what this says. Surah 9, Ayah 111. Allah has purchased for the believers their lives and their properties, for that they will have paradise. They fight in the cause of Allah, so they kill and are killed. It is a true promise upon him in the Islamic Torah and the Islamic Injil and the Quran. And then it goes on in Ayat 113. It is not for the Prophet and those who have believed to ask forgiveness for the polytheists, even if they were relatives. And Surah, the same, one ayat later, and the request of forgiveness of Abraham for his father was only because of a promise he had made to him. So now please explain to me, when it says kill, what does it mean?
Kill means to kill.
Did you hear this?
Yeah, kill means to kill.
Yeah, and I condemned it.
Yeah, but did you hear your ideas of contextualizing some are metaphorical was useless in this? Do you understand? Did you understand it?